Hi everyone. As you may have noticed, our flyers around. This is our workshop, uh, talking about and understanding the DEI initiatives and the dangers dissolution of the Department of Education. Um, we are IE Education Changers. We are a organization specifically speaking about the matter of um, the dissolution of DEI and how it will affect the Department of Education. And we want others to understand and talk about how it will be affected and what we can do to change. And here are some of the things we will be going through um, in our workshop.
Basically, today we're going to talk about what is DEI and why do we need it. We're also going to talk about what is DOE and why is it important. What's happening right now, keeping you up to date with things so that you know, and how this will impact you and other people, and what we can do about it as a community.
So our mission in particular is to educate others, right? In terms of, especially in terms of how to protest and how to become more involved in your community, particularly in this case, in addressing major changes happening in the Department of Education. We are here to protect our students, and we want to make sure that you are here to assist us in that journey and that you understand how fundamental that journey is. Okay, so DEI initiatives. So first of all, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's very common recently that it kind of just represents Black people or whatever group uh, people associate DEI to mean. Um, but DEI programs cover any disenfranchised group. Um, so it's not specific to any particular race, or in fact, it includes white women as well. Like it's not specific. Um, are the main focus of DEI initiatives are to ensure the fair treatment of all. So it's very common in different spaces that it can be really exclusive or limited. People in jobs may not have the same likelihood of being hired or earning raises as others. People in schools may not have the same chances as being accepted. It consistently varies depending on the institution. However, it's universal that DEI initiatives have proven to be beneficial in every institution they've been applied in, particularly within the Department of Education. It is important to note that the Department of Education uses DEI initiatives for its employees and less for its control over the public education system.
Why do we need DEI programs? They ensure protection for others. Different institutions have their own way of designing and implementing their policies. For many, it's mandatory that spaces are updated through proper cultural sensitivity training. In the context, schools, there are a greater push to ensure students are treated fairly both inside and outside the classroom. Individual campuses with DEI programs will often have established consequences for any prejudged mistreatment of students. There is also a policy change for explicit language. While it may be implemented that prejudice within a given space is unacceptable, there are no specific language or punishments in place to discourage it. Why do people want to eliminate DEI programs? Policy change and training is viewed as very harmful. Many feel that these adjustments are unnecessary. Some believe that these forms of adjustments of prejudice no longer exist. Others believe that these policies are meant to attack people, typically cisgender, heterosexual white men. This belief itself is exactly why policies, new training, and adjustments to protocol. Money and time. Also, if training is occurring, then money needs to be put in to develop those new training programs and time needs to be set aside to develop them and also to learn them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Torres, and I will be participating in this presentation about the DEI and why it's very important and why dismantling it will ruin the Department of Education and kind of ruin everything we kind of work for. So basically, I'm going to be starting out by explaining what is the Department of Education. In the US, education is mainly controlled by state and local governments, which are responsible for setting up schools, creating curricula, and deciding graduation requirements, as well as handling most of the funding. The mission of the Department of Education is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. First started in 1867 to collect info on schools and teaching that would help establish effective school systems. In 1980, Congress established it as a cabinet-level agency and operates programs that touch on every area and level of education. The Department's elementary and secondary services annually help nearly 18,200 school districts and over 50 million students attending about 98,000 public schools and 32,000 private schools. Department programs also provide grant, loan, and work study assistance to more than 12 million post-secondary students. Why do we need the Department of Education? The Department of Education gives people easier access to education, such as financial aid, which is like FAFSA, Pell Grants, any kind of grants that you can get. It also helps funds low-income schools and supports students with disabilities. The Department of Education sets a national education policy and supports curriculum development and reform education. If we suffer the loss of the Department of Education, students who don't have a lot of money or struggle have disabilities. So like the which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or face unfair treatment like discrimination could lose the help they need to do well in school. Without it, schools might not get the federal help to have enough money, so many kids might not be able to go to college or get the support they need to learn.
Now, why do people want to remove the Department of Education? Primarily, it's the fear of change. Uh, in the newer years, public schools have been updating their curriculum to provide students with like a more well-rounded understanding of various topics surrounding identity, that's race, gender, etc. And a lot of parents feel uncomfortable or entirely reject these teachings, and they use the Department of Education as a scapegoat to use them to justify why all these changes are happening. Ironically enough, the Department of Education doesn't play a major role in public school curriculum. There's some influence, but primarily that occurs on a state by state or even a county basis, as opposed to a federal level. So another thing to consider, um, the DOE in its own self as an institution, it has employees. Um, those that institution does have DEI policies in place for its employees. Again, as previously stated, DEI policies and initiatives are very useful, especially in the workplace. But the existence of DEI initiatives within the Department of Education doesn't uh, mean that they have any influence over how DEI functions in schools, which again comes from the notion that anything linked to race or ethnicity is the same thing as DEI. Those things are being conflated quite a bit here. Um, so yes, because of this essentially misinformation, a large amount of people are seeking to dissolve the Department of Education, which is fundamentally going to cause a lot of problems. It plays a major role in the lives of students and employees and parents just around the world, around the country. Um, its removal will have a major impact on funding, and will just overall limit resources and access. And this is why we are presenting today. We hope to encourage you to protest this issue.
Hi everyone, my name is Myla Alexander. As the members have previously stated about the problem of DEI being taken away in the Department of Education, it's important that it's implemented because it could benefit people who have of different ethnic backgrounds, um, people who work, those who are disabled. They receive a lot of benefits. Um, and so without that, a lot of those resources and advantages could be taken away. So it's important that it's able that it's maintained and intact. And so without it, um, it means so much that like it'll affect you and your loved ones. So it's important to note that this will be based on where you live. Um, obviously, anywhere like anywhere like in California or more the South, it's really going to affect um, depending on depending on how their laws um, come into tact. So it really does matter, and um, a lot of college students, high school students, anyone in education, it'll really affect them because um, money uh, money is a big part of the education program, Department of Education. So without money, obviously, you can't fund schools, and uh, students will lose their resources and their like access different um, to different ways on how to be successful. And many college students who receive resources like free textbooks and free laptops will lose these resources. A lot of students don't have financial aid, and I mean, a lot of students, they don't have, the money, so they use financial aid, to cover that. So without it, it's basically nothing, you know. And so it's really important that DEI is implemented. So what can you do? Well, you could do a lot of things. You can call your representatives, research how education policies change and affect your future, support local and national candidates that align with your values or education, or attend school board meetings. Um, there's plenty of different resources and ways on how to participate in the conversation and the problem. Um, you could hold safe spaces, online forums, or organize um, a meeting at a town hall. There's just different types of alternatives on how to speak about the problem and make a change about it. It's important because these things are changing day and night, and if you're not aware of the problem, one day you might wake up and something like you're everything's taken away and you're just like, I didn't know about that. When did that happen? And so, it's important to like understand what's being updated, or like being up to date on the issue. Um, so it's important to do that.
The need for community. How do we benefit from community in spaces like this? People bring different experiences and perspectives that lets everyone learn more about each other and different opinions. A unified group can be a big influence on decision making, and more than just one individual can do this.
Um, what can we do with or for each other? We can certainly do a lot of things, but we can make a space for each voice, especially people who rather keep their opinions quietly, but we will ensure that their voices will be heard by creating a safe space for everyone.
And also, we can support each other by showing up to events. Some people think that it might not matter showing up, like, I'm just one person. Why should I show up? Or, like, I don't think it would help anyone if I show up. But I promise that, like, to a lot of people, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And then how does protesting together change things? It's essentially safety in numbers. So the larger our group is, the more we can push for change. And also the larger um, the group is, the more the conversation can happen and we can get clarity on the matter. That means better education, and also we can figure out exactly what our stance is. And also along that, that entire thing inspires social movements. When we have that clarity in that large group, we can create more change and put pressure on others, especially our congressmen.
Um, Here are some different ways and resources on how we can work together as a community and organization. Um, we can collaborate with different types of organizations. We, as IE Education for Changers, we are specifically collaborated with IECC and Gen Z for Change. We've already made connections with them, so you may find it easier to communicate with them, but please feel free to reach out for any other organizations that you may find.
There are social media accounts that you can interact with. If you contact us directly with your own goals, we can put you in contact with the best organization to reach out to. For example, like IECC and Gen Z for Change.
Once you've found your ideal community, your protests must also be held as safely as possible. This means organizing peaceful marches in the public, hosting outdoor rallies with speakers where people can overhear, join in, or even create petitions.
For this cause specifically, attempt to work with staff members and students in various schools in the area, especially when dealing with petitions. If you can get enough signatures of people who are actively being very directly influenced by the Department of Education, you can send those petitions to your local representative, and that places pressure on them. It kind of forces them to serve the people more.
And then let's work together. Let's talk and interchange our ideas and uh, bring out our ideas.
Yeah, Gen Z for Change is here today. The IECC is also hosting an event with us at the same time. So if there's any questions you have to ask, you can either ask us or you can find someone here who can. There's a lot of well-informed people available today.
Mhm.
And if you want to come back to this, Gen Z for Change has recorded this and they will share a link on our social media platform in about 24 hours. And then if you do desire to reach out to us specifically, um, we will have um our contact info. So reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you didn't get an answer to today or a question you didn't think of today.
And
Especially our website.
our
Our
website
website is pretty
and
simple to
then
access. We have our mission statement. We have a weekly newsletter to kind of keep you updated on the situation, especially in both your state and across the board and throughout the country.
and yes, so if you have any questions about our workshop today, feel free to talk to us or ask anyone. But